The emotional body method is a physical emotion regulation method that helps people calm the nervous system and then helps people regulate their emotions and teaches them how to shift in and out of emotional states. Now, how it's done is it has 3 parts to it. It uses what are called emotional effector patterns, which are basically what I call them are keys to the nervous system. And those 3 parts are a breath pattern, a muscular pattern in the face, and muscular pattern in the whole body, which are oftentimes called postural attitudes. And the muscular patterns in the face, sometimes people call them facial expressions. So you take those 3 parts and they work sort of like a key to the nervous system. And if you get each of those 3 parts coordinated with the pattern and you do them at the same time, then what they do is they trigger a specific emotion in your nervous system.
Emotional body makes use of numbers and letters to describe the patterns, and that invites the individual to draw from their own life worlds and determine their emotional subjective experiences based on the patterns. As it doesn't prescribe, it merely provides the somatic practice, and then the individual can subjectively offer what that sensation in the body means to them.
This is highly universal. This is based in our biological origins, that it is really actually just learning about how our body works. This actually accompanies the methods that you have used once you've given yourself a chance to learn how to do it.
I teach in a context where I'm acutely aware of the fact that it is multilingual. And we have this artificial space that we create where we all speak English, even though nobody is really English. So I always look for sort of pre-linguistic elements. I'm very interested in that is more universal, that we all share. And I think the emotional patterns is a gem in that regard. It is part of the human condition.
So to listen to a person telling a story, I facilitate telling the worst stories that can happen to a person. So to facilitate that and also realize how their breathing changes. So to calm them down, I used breathing for a long time. But this is so constructive to help a person understand how they are breathing and how they can calm themselves down. That your breath calms you down through tickling the vagus nerve. Then you can get to a very deep sense of, use the word serenity, calmness, even in the worst circumstances. So I want people to tell their stories. I want them to externalize, but they must understand what's happening to them on a sensory level as well as in their breathing.
The first way that people find this beneficial is I find that they're making discoveries for themselves, because when we do a workshop, they're going inside interoceptively, so it's an internal discovery, and they make huge amounts of personal discoveries about how this is helping them in their own personal lives, because they're feeling all these emotional shifts happening and all these personal discoveries about their own emotions and how they are recognizing how it's calming their nervous system, how they can shift in and out of emotional states so easily, and how there's no context to it at all. Just I breathe this way, I shift these little muscles here and there, and suddenly I'm in an emotional state, and now I'm out of an emotional state, and I didn't have to think about anything.
I had some breakthroughs personally as well. I realized that, okay, sometimes I've had this feeling, but I haven't known how to tap out of it. I've had this feeling before, but I haven't known how to sort of navigate around it. And I've most of the time suppressed it, which was my personal experience. But inside looking outwards, I can now see how the workshop teaches you how to express emotions, but not in a way that sort of breaks you, I think, if I can put it that way.
It's the ability to let go, and just choose and invite any emotion that you'd like to be in. So that's just like magical.
Let's give people the platform to express. Let's have workshops, or let's have places where people can just cry instead of being violent and everything, and then turn against them when they're being violent. But truly speaking, those people, if they were offered a space to express those emotions, cry, it wouldn't get to a violent point, you understand? So emotions are very necessary for a human body. You were supposed to go through those emotions and express them. So I feel like this emotional effector pattern is very, very important for everyone. We're making people suffer inside instead of letting them be. And then after crying, for example, you feel so good. You go back to your senses, and then everyday life continues.
I just think my emotions are generally quite readily available. I often get comments like, "You're so emotional, you're so sensitive, your reaction, you overreact." And one day I remember just losing it and saying, well, maybe the size of my reaction is just too big for you, because this is the size of my reaction. Yes, I very much believe in releasing my emotions, and I do feel that most people don't, and most people are emotionally constipated. So it felt schizophrenic, because it was like one after the other, but not in a bad way, in a liberating way. It's like, yeah, today, you know what, today I got to feel them all, and it was okay. And I knew how to come back. So it's been a very freeing experience.
When we would do the patterns one after the other, that's when I could sense, okay, this is the difference between my 1A and my 1B. And then even sometimes going back to my 0, I can feel the stark difference between the pattern I was doing and the 0, and feeling the sense of release in my body as I was changing the breathing patterns. So just that activity itself was the biggest aha moment for me. And it also showed me how in my own personal capacity, I can just use the body and breath to self-regulate based on what's happening, how I'm feeling, and how I, in that moment, get to decide how I'm going to respond and how I can feel at that time, and navigating whether I'm in a space where I can feel a certain way. And also just that taking care of the self, knowing that I don't need to go too far, but I have the option to stay within my window of tolerance.
The crucial part of this workshop for me is you being able to maintain or sustain them, like you control them, because if you keep holding on to them, like they're not good for your own body, or if you can't manage them, understand? So it took me back to my everyday life, that when I'm sad, I overthink, I end up having a headache, and they are being pointed out, yes, this emotion can lead you into this. So that's the important part of you having to control those emotions, be able to be willing to tap out of them. So
because we all have emotions, and they always will be with us, but we need to be able now to regulate the emotions. And what this workshop has taught us is that it's okay to feel certain things for certain periods of time, but also it teaches you that you can feel certain things and you can stop. You can tap out. You can tap out of feeling certain things, which I think it's a valuable lesson.
The idea of multifacetedness, but it's how many emotions are constantly present, even in a singular pattern. I think because of how we function as people, we're constantly switching. And we go from one moment to the next moment. So we don't often get that feeling that we're switching until someone goes, why do you look so angry? And then you go, oh, okay, that's what that is. So it's been interesting that I feel for me that 3B was okay. It can be so many things at the same time. And often as people, we want to put markers to say, you're angry, or you're upset, or you're sad, or you're happy. But in reality, we're constantly shifting, whether it be from our breath, from our just how our body's positioned, where we hold tension, where we need to release. It's that idea that all of these breaths, or these patterns rather, lie within the whole body. And they all have behaviors, they all have, whether it's through the mouth or through the nose, it's things we do every day, but we don't necessarily realize that we're constantly shifting.
I think it should be taught more worldwide. I think the effective patterns, because they also help you be able to regulate your emotions, which is important. And a lot of the time, we're not able to do that. We're not taught how to feel. We're not taught which emotions are fine. Most of the time, we're told that, okay, you can feel this, but you can't feel that. You can be sad, but you can't cry. You can be happy, but don't be happy too much. So now we have a bit of a misunderstanding and a miscommunication within our bodies and within the society, because we try to present ourselves in a certain way so that we don't come off as weak or as, less than. So what this teaches us is that it's okay. It's okay to feel. You need to feel. You need to make a conscious decision to go through the emotions to feel them, because they build up, and then like a volcano, at some point it explodes, and that has terrible consequences, not just for you but for your environment, which is something that I think needs to be fixed, because the body, emotion, soul, mind, they work hand in hand. So the body cannot exist without the emotions. The emotions are embedded within the body, so we need to be able to express them.
Something that I really love about this method is that emotion regulation is available. It's in you, it's through you, and it's by you. And it's available to every human being.